Hello everyone, I am Akhtar, commissioning editor at Roli Books, and you're watching Roli Pulse, our new digital initiative. Remember, you can check out all our previous sessions, the author interactions we've been curating, videos, panels, everything on our YouTube handle, on Instagram, on Facebook, and Twitter. And if you would like us to put out more such content, then please show us your love in the comment section below and share this with your friends and anyone you wish to. Today's conversation is on creating entertainment in the new world that is now being mediated by the pandemic. Like every sphere in life we have known, the film and entertainment and the content world also has severely been affected by the virus and has in fact brought huge losses to the industry at large. Will people be comfortable stepping into cinemas and theaters anytime soon? How will films be made, produced, shot, distributed, and consumed? What are going to be the logistics of producing and putting together a movie or a TV show in these times? With OTT platforms emerging as the bigger winner in all this, will entertainment and the film world ever be the same again? Is the question everyone's asking. Taking up this and a lot more are two of my favorite filmmakers, Zoya Akhtar and Vikramaditya Motwane, who are going to be in conversation with Shubhra Gupta. I'm not going to waste time with introductions. I'll just have Shubhra get us started. Of course, you know that Zoya and Vikram are two of India's most popular, well-known filmmakers. Shubhra is a film critic and senior columnist with the Indian Express. So, without further ado, Shubhra, why don't you get us started with the chat?
Hi, everybody. Great to be talking to you across the screen. And I think this is going to be a reality for the foreseeable future because I don't think we are stepping out of the confines of our homes for another at least 15 days till the 31st of May. Just an hour ago, we had an announcement which says that the lockdown is going to be extended, and yeah, here we are. If I got a rupee for every time I've used the word surreal or I would probably be, I would have a whole box full of coins today. How do you both as filmmakers respond to something like this, which is unprecedented? We haven't seen something like this before, and we are all trying to, in our own ways, grapple with situations which are so difficult. Is this something that essentially bothers you as a person who's connected with the world around us and includes a lot of that into your own work? How do you respond to this as a filmmaker? Either of you, please pick it up.
There's one aspect of it, I think, which is responding to it as filmmakers and our work and our careers, but we are also part of that slightly privileged sect of people that have homes and are fed and will come out of this with jobs, so it allows us to think of more than our livelihood. And as surreal as it is, I think it was coming because of the way like the whole world is just treating the planet. The policies that are being made, the kind of decisions that are consistently taken. Nobody seems to be learning from any mistakes. We have really taken nature and we've taken it for granted. And it was coming. There were endemics happening all the time. It just had to get out of borders, and it happened. And now the question now is, what are we going to do now? Are we going to still go back to, everybody wants to go back to normal. And that is a very scary thought, because if we go back to what was normal, that normal is what got us here. So that is the most overriding feeling I have, firstly. And then we'll come to the film industry.
Yeah, but Vikram, everybody's talking about this new normal, and I find that every time there is something cataclysmic that happens, this whole business about the new normal just pops up. How many new normals are there going to be, given the situation right now?
It's changing every day, Shubhra. It's changing every day as we know it. Like, I have no idea. Like, nobody knows. We've been on so many of these calls that we're trying to figure out, okay, what's going to be the next. Forget the film industry. As Zoya says, it's not, there's two parts to it, right? The film industry, you have no idea what the next 2 months is going to be. You have no idea what the next 6 months is going to be. And I think the same thing holds true for just life in general. What is the new normal? What is going to happen in the next, and it's not just India. Like, every other country in the world has seen this coming from miles away, and they've done nothing about it to actually, none of the major countries have done anything about it to actually sort of make their systems work. So you constantly get the feeling that this is on the, almost like in a sense, on the verge of like, is it on the verge of collapse? Are we actually sort of like going there? Are we being told the truth? There's so much of that stuff which is also going on that one really doesn't know. So I can't. I mean, I can't predict anything. I can't predict 15 days in the future, leave alone, you know, the next.
Right. Zoya, you were about to say something?
I say, I mean, the scary thought is if we are going to come out of it, and not just we, I'm talking about all the powers that be globally, going to come out of this even more capitalist than before. Because if that's what's going to happen, and if that's the thrust to bringing it back to that, then we are in serious trouble.
We've been living so much on this. Everything's been on such thin margins of profit and loss. Everybody, whether it's like airlines and restaurants and us and industries and everything is like, it's razor thin. Every margin is razor thin, right? So we got so used to being the fact that everybody's going to be employed and everybody's going to be fed and everybody's going to have, and then suddenly you realize the fact that this is potentially not going to happen in the future. And it's weird. It's weird and scary.
But are you hearing things about like, okay, going forward, these are the healthcare policies. Going forward, this is the environmental policy. Going forward, this is how we're going to be. Are you hearing any of that? No. That's frightening.
I think all of us are floundering, and I think nobody has any idea. And I think really it is unprecedented. None of us know what the next moment is going to be like in this scenario. If the two of you, people who've been part of the film industry and have created the kind of cinema that has stood the test of time. You've done, your Udan finishes 10 years this year. Your Luck by Chance is 11 years old. You, Zoya, a child of the industry. You, Vikram, you were not born to it, but you were a reluctant entrant, but you took to it like you could do nothing else. So between the two of you, you've seen so much. So my question, as Chirag also, actually he asked everything, but my question now is, and people who are creating entertainment, I hate the word content, I hate it. So cinema or web series, between both of you, you've also been very early settlers into the web series game with Made in Heaven and with Sacred Games. Where do you see entertainment going? On a broad spectrum, and then we'll come to some specifics. Where do you see this going? Do you think there are going to be major changes, or is this something temporary and we're going to go right back to how we used to be?
I mean, you can't predict that. Like we just said, we have no idea. I mean, tomorrow, if they find medication, because it's not going anywhere. So there'll only be medication or a vaccine, and this suddenly becomes like having the flu, which is, we live with that. Everything will go back to normal. And if they don't find it, and if it's this, then it might be dodgy, and people will still be apprehensive about entering any kind of public space like a theater. So we don't know we can't predict that, But having said that, I mean, like, are the arts going to go away? Not at all. Are people? I mean, the biggest thing people have been doing in this lockdown, at least the ones that don't have to fight for survival, because that's another chapter. But I'm saying that they are all just turning to the arts. They're reading books, they are watching films, they are consuming shows, they are listening to music. So that is that's food for the soul. That's just going to carry on, And I mean, it's also interesting because what is going to happen to the narratives post the pandemic? Because there will be a lot of pandemic narratives, because this has been a hugely traumatic experience for a lot of people, and a hugely cathartic experience for a lot of people, and a life change. It's been a massive. It's an epoch, this moment, and it's changed people forever. So it is going to definitely spew a lot of narratives that come out. But even having said that, and even if you're not making a film about the pandemic or set in that, you're going to, I mean, is life tomorrow going to be, is everyone going to have a mask? Are we going to sanitize everywhere we go? Are we going to wipe down every seat we sit on? We don't know what life is going to be. And that's going to come into our stories, don't you think, Vikram?
100%. 100%. I think one of the jokes we were actually cracking was that we're going to see a lot more lonely cinema right now, because it's like so much of it is about your reaction to this and your family's reaction to this, and the closeness thing that is sort of like feeling right now. So one of the jokes is, okay, everybody's like, oh, is it going to be more of the escapist cinema. I was like, yeah, they will be there, and that'll always be there. I think there's going to be a lot more introspection, a lot more of this, like, because if you can't, and like nobody knows. I mean, are we going to keep making movies like as small as we can? I mean, so okay, just to get to like the industry thing. So we've been, I mean, Zoe and me have been on a phone call. We've spoken to theater owners. I've also had another call. So the thing is, right now, so the big films are not going to open up, are not going to come to the theaters unless they can do pan-India release, right? That's not going to happen. And until pan-India releases happen, then what's your occupancy that you can actually take? Can those films then run longer in movie theaters? Are the theaters going to give them a chance to actually run longer? We were, I think, till this started, we were already overcrowded in our movie theaters. There wasn't enough place for every kind of movie to exist. The tentpoles did, the tentpoles came in, but even the tentpole films are like rushing out in 3 weeks, right? They're not getting 6 to 8 weeks to 10 weeks to actually sort of like wait there and have people to go back, second and third time to see it. That's not happening. So, and then the smaller films, because all we knew literally till 2 years ago was the fact that we made movies for the movie theater, and then suddenly the fact that, okay, we have another avenue, we can make a certain kind of movie. Because we're not geared for the indie cinema. You go to New York and you're going to go to watch movies in the Film Forum, you watch them in the Angelica and the East Village cinemas. What is that equivalent over here is nothing. It's that same PVR. And that same PVR is more interested in doing the blockbusters and the tentpole films and the indie films. So where do the indie films go? They have to go online, right? And I think yes, there's, people are reacting and Inox reacted, saying that there's going to be retributive, whatever.
Yeah.
I see where they're coming from. I see the anger, but I think that this is going to completely churn. It's going to purge the industry. We're going to have a lot of films that are going to go to OTT because at the end of the day, they are just distributors like anybody else, right? If you get used to the idea of watching a movie on a small screen, that they are a distributor, and that's exactly what's going to start happening. It may be for the good. It may actually sort of come out that a lot of movies will go to OTT. When the theaters eventually do come back, you will have tentpoles. You'll have films that actually can breathe a little longer. It's not going to stop people making movies for the movie theater for sure. We all want to do that. We all want to make our movies for the theater, but that's just one part of it. Then there's the whole shooting element, which honestly, that uncertainty really is killing me. It's actually giving me anxiety because I don't know when I can go back to shoot. I don't know what scale I can shoot at. I don't know if in the beginning, do I have to be on a film set only? Is that going to affect my budget? I know, Zoe, I believe you pushed Made in Heaven to for a while because nobody knows.
Made in Heaven is pushed. We're doing another show for Amazon, which Rima was directing. And they've shot 25% of it, so that's just stopped halfway. And the crew had to be dismissed, stuff like that. So it's thrown up like a lot of everyone's stuff has gone up and down.
So Vikram, you actually no, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just sort of just saying that uncertainty. There's no definitive guideline coming from anybody. And this is where everybody needs to sit together on a regular basis and discuss it. The exhibitors, the distributors, the producers need to sit together and say, when we come back, this is how we're going to release movies. Your Producers Guild and Netflix and Amazon and everybody needs to sit together and think, this is how we're going to shoot movies. We start at this scale, we can eventually go to that scale. Does it mean that forever, for the next year, we can't use more than 50 people on a film set? Is that a law or is that not? Those are just suggestions coming from certain bodies. But again, just the uncertainty of all that is just really unnerving. It really doesn't know.
Yeah, in fact, you have pretty much in the last 5 minutes covered my what I was going to ask you is about the complete shock and the retributive kind of spirit with which Inox released the statement. PVR was much more restrained, and they said, yes, we do understand, filmmakers who need to, carry on with what they're doing. And as you said, a lot more conversations have to happen between the stakeholders, which are not something that happens as a matter of course. I would say that is, whether you like it or not, that is going to be a reality, right? Where you're going to have conversations between the value chain to see where apart from the fact that you're not being able to shoot, when this thing lifts, if it lifts, what is the shape of it going to be like? Which movies go to the theaters, which movies come onto OTT straight away? If Gulabo Sitabo is going to be setting a trend, will it be that every other film that is considered itself, sort of small scale, will that go directly to one of the streaming platforms? Of course, a Suryavanshi will wait for the big guys, for the big theaters experience. Of course, a 83 will wait for the big ones. But will there now be a kind of a thing in a filmmaker's mind already? You're second guessing yourself. Are you saying that this is going here, this is going there? Is that going to happen?
I mean, people have to do what they have to do, and people will do what they can afford to do. What makes sense to you business wise? Because if I've made a film, my film is a mid-budget film, I am paying interest on the money that I made the film on. So every month that I don't release, I'm adding to the budget. I'm paying money out, and then I'm going to come to. There's no definite end. We don't know when cinemas will open. They could open last. In the whole gap, the thing of society, cinemas and malls could be something least priority for the government. Fair enough. They could open last. So if you are telling me to wait indefinitely, I'm churning out money. Maybe I can't afford it. Maybe I've gone over budget. I have to go indefinitely ahead, and then I have to jostle for space between massive films like 83 and Suryavanshi, which are big ticket films, then I'm going to depend on the audience who might be scared to come in or has gone through a serious not making money period. So that person has to then decide which film ticket he's going to buy, and will he buy mine over a Suryavanshi and an 83? There are many factors. You can't blame a filmmaker. I mean, today, luckily, people have an option of another distribution platform. And there is no filmmaker, Shubhra, that makes a movie for the big screen that doesn't want it seen on the big screen. There is no filmmaker like that. So if they are not going to wait for that, they have very valid reason to,
No, 100%. Exactly what Zoya is saying. I think you can't. At this point in time, it's not just there could be an individual producer, but it could also be a small studio that needs that money to pay their salaries. You need to constantly have that churn. Studios are just dying right now because they don't have the money coming in, and a lot of these guys are also into television and film and stuff like that. And if they can't make a sale and get whatever crores they're going to get for that sale to sort of go put back in the industry and put back into development, put back into salaries, put back into everything else. How you can't blame these guys. There's no way. I mean, I really feel for the theaters, right? Because right now this is their only source of. I feel for them, but I just feel that, I don't want to say that for the small film that sometimes you get the sense that they had it coming because of the way it's like when you want it, it's a fair market and it's a capitalistic thing. So you can increase the price of tickets, you can sort of like put ads, you can do whatever you want, and you can sort of like, so we have to sign an 8-week exclusive with the theaters, but they can throw my film out in 2 days, right? So in a weird sort of way, you can go back and say, this is, in a way, it's like, haha, this is retributive for the theaters. They've been sort of like pushing you. Now they want you to sort of like help them. But that's not the point. But those smaller films, as Zoya is saying, when you're going to come out, how does the Gulabo Sitabo know that's going to be able to hold up against the Suryavanshi and 83? Will they even get the shows they want? And this is exactly the fight that used to happen 3 months ago. That you're pushing for shows, you're pushing for space.
Yeah. And you're going to do what is making sense for you. Everyone is. And I mean, like the Sujit Sarkar is going to make another film very soon. Everyone is going to, and everybody wants, all of us want our films in theaters, Yeah. But at the end of the day, you can't go out.
So right now, the streaming platform seems to be, depending upon which side of the fence you are in, it is your savior, or it is the bad guys who are actually doing this stuff. But year before last, when you guys started with your Sacred Games and Made in Heaven, it was an option that you chose to exercise. So now my question to you is that a web series obviously will have to stream, but did it come at an opportune moment? The whole idea of having another platform, when it did 2 years back, 2.5 years back, when you have the freedom, was it the freedom to show your series the way you wanted it? Was that the driving force that took you towards the streaming platform? What was it? I know that a lot of people, filmmakers, have to struggle with censorship. So was the thing about having the freedom to tell your stories the way you wanted was leading you towards the streaming platforms, both of you?
I think whether 2 years ago, 5 years ago, today, whatever time you had an option platform to put your work on or to display your work on is a boon at any point if it had come. I think as storytellers and as people that have that actually create stuff, there are a lot of ideas that lend themselves to just a feature. There are certain ideas that won't go beyond 20-30 minutes and you want to make that a short. There are certain ideas that need 8 hours of content, and you can't make Sacred Games as a 2-hour feature film. You just can't. You need that space. And suddenly when we have that option, it's like it's playing field. You can take any idea now and be able to convert it in the form that you want. That is a boon. So that to me was the first plus, that suddenly all the ideas can be activated and something can work somewhere. The second thing is, of course, there's no censorship. There is a certain freedom, and it gives you that freedom to express, to show, to just tell your story as hard, as sexual, as delicate, as slow. Even that's a bad word for a Hindi movie. As slowly as you want to. And the third thing is, you don't have the box office pressure. You don't have to have massive stars every time. You don't have people sitting there and telling you what your film is going to do or not do. It goes back to the time of our childhood where you watched something and you either liked it or didn't. You don't know how much money it made, and that's how we grew up. And suddenly that's what the web is doing. I'm watching Patal Lok. I was watching it I started at 2. I have just not stopped. And I'm going to put this off and I'm going to finish the season today because it's damn good. Now, I don't care how many people are watching it. I don't care how much money it makes or doesn't make or what it is. It's superb. Whoever asks me, I'm going to be like, please watch it. It's superb. So that bastardization of where the whole public is involved in your business, that is gone. So I think those are the perks for me. Now, Vikram, you actually changed it.
You sort of took from doorstopper of a book, which is fabulous, and you created Sacred. So I went back to read it. I read it when it first came out. I went back to read it, and I find it a little difficult to now hold it. So I know that, yes, there is the whole idea, there is an expansiveness to the web that, like a theater doesn't have. What was that, what was that little thing that drove you towards a streaming platform?
No, so I think what was happening was that before that, before we started even getting into this, all our sort of like water cooler conversations, the types that we're having, all our discussions would be about films and now becoming about series. We were talking about Game of Thrones, we were talking about House of Cards, we were talking about anything, because that was what we were watching, genuinely watching. It wasn't the fact that, people are watching it, like we were watching, we are watching, and I think so. It was the fact that, wow, we love these stories. We love the fact that we can actually go out there and tell these in-depth stories over a period of 8 hours times 5 years. You know what I mean? Where it's like a relationship. You have these characters and like you're meeting them every year and you're spending time with them every year. It's like going on vacation with them. I think the desire or just the fact that I was loving that so much was the fact that, so that was one thing. Then the opportunity comes along. Netflix and Amazon are coming over here. They've chosen, and I think the fact that they chose this book, but also the fact that they said, no, we don't want to do it in English. We want to do it in Hindi. We want to do local language. I was like, okay, cool. So we can do world-class content in India, and sort of like create our own sort of stuff. So that draw is just way too much. If you're loving the medium, then you want to sort of like be in that medium and go so into it.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Is now next to Fauda, which is next to, you know what I mean? So you are global content. You are next to, like, Made in Heaven is next to Marvelous Miss Maisel and next to something. And it's amazing because the amount of people that have access to your work that wouldn't have or can sample, it's really fantastic.
It is, but I'm also like, it's also, but even in the feature front, like my next feature, AK versus AK, I'm making for Netflix, and that's a choice. It's not a compulsion. It's not like, oh, I have to because there's no other options. Like, that's a choice that I very consciously made before starting shooting. We all discussed it, and I was like, okay, if I have to make this film with this actor, this kind of story, it's those calculations you always do, right? When you put together a star cast plus music plus blah 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 plus marketing cost, can you even sort of like go in the theater or not? But that's a conscious choice that we made to say, no, let's do this as a Netflix original because we know that there's an audience there. And so the fact that the options there in the first place, is the biggest thing. We've got so used to just the fact that our entire childhood, our entire young adult sort of filmmaking life was always about the theater. Whatever we want to do, we want to make it for the theater. And we had this hope that every film we do will work in the theater. Sometimes that's not true. You'll still go back to that. A year later, we still say, yeah, I wish I could make it for the theater. But there is a reality check. There's a reality check of your audience, a reality check of the kind of budget you can get. But just, the fact that the option is there and the fact that the audience is there and it's taking it live to 100 and whatever countries, day and date, is too good. It's too good an opportunity to miss out on.
Yeah, my only, I've been, since the lockdown, I've also been turning to the web, turning to the streaming platforms in a way that I've never done, because for me it was always second-class citizen. The theater was my playing field, because week after week, that's what we did that's what people like me have done all these years. And now that I'm being forced to, in a sense, look at stuff on, it took me, it was a switch. It had to be a switch. To me, it's 2D. I try and touch it, my finger doesn't go in, and I'm like, no, this is not film. So I can see a web series, but to see a movie on this is still going to take me a little bit of getting used to. But that's just me. A lot of people seem to love it because they can see it at their own time. And amongst us, we've been talking about how many people are talking about how they're not missing the traffic. They're not missing the getting stuck for 4 hours, getting into a theater. They're actually quite loving this whole thing. So are you, as filmmakers, worried that this is going to be the go-to thing, and theaters are going to be like passé or not going to happen anymore? Is that a worry?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. People are going to run back to the theater. The moment it's safe and the moment you can go back, we're going to be flocking back to the theater. I want to go back to the theater, but as long as I know it's safe.
Yeah. It's, a lot of things like we're going to kill the theater experience, the video, then the LD, then the DVD, then the surround sound, then a lot of things were going to kill the theater experience, and they haven't, because it's a completely different experience. Like when I'm watching a show, it's like I'm reading a book. It's my time. It's like I can watch one chapter every night before I go to bed, and it's a very personal. I don't watch a show with someone else. It's a very personal experience. But when I go to the theater, it's much more of a community experience. It's a larger than life experience. I like the big screen personally. I've grown up watching films on the big screen. So
I think
and it's not going to go.
No, I think all of us are just, in a sense, just waiting for this thing to, so that we can go back into. I just find the dark of a theater, there's nothing. You can just switch off all the lights in your house. You can have any curtains, you can have anything, you can have a soundproof. It does not compute. It does not. So anyway, we're all actually just waiting for the theaters to open. And so, Guy, what are you reading? What are you watching? What are you doing? All of these? Tell me.
I am currently reading
watching Patal Lok?
Forest of Enchantments. I've just started reading that. And that's by Chitra Banerjee Devakumari. And she wrote Palace of Illusions. So I'm reading her book. And I'm watching Patal Lok. And the minute this ends, I'm going back to watching Patal Lok.
Patal Lok, yeah. It is so dark. It is so dark. It is
dark, but I love it. I love it.
Yeah. What are you doing with your time? Are you reading? Are you able to read at all?
I have a 5-year-old daughter, and it gets impossible to watch anything in the day because she's going to barge into the room, and then if I'm watching anything which is even remotely adult content, I'm going to be sort of like question. I have to stop it, and then by the time she goes to sleep at night, it's just like I might watch a film. I haven't seen a single series since lockdown started because I've been spending. And I realized that this is actually the time I want to spend with her the most. So I've just been spending most of my time with her. I also have to edit my film. So whatever work I'm doing is like editing. And now that I have the luxury of taking all the time in the world, I'm doing exactly that. I'm taking all the time in the world editing and finishing. You know what it's like as a filmmaker. So it's like I just want to sit there and sort of like do that. So that's all I'm doing. I'm editing. I'm sometimes writing, but most of the time is spending time with my daughter because once I go back, I don't have the time. So
I was watching some of your. For this, I watched some of your films, both of your films, and I have to say that if you're looking at it in a different time, the films mean a little more. Like I loved, like your Bhagwati was something that I loved in Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. It was just something that, and Udan, I have said this so many times, I just love your film. And every time I watched it like with a bunch of people, including we've shown it at the Express Film Club and so many of the sessions that I do. It's just such a film that comes alive, and your films as well. So much of, I wonder where you got all the tomatoes from. Are you doing any revisiting of your own film? Do you ever do that? Do you go back and watch your own films ever?
Never.
No?
I haven't seen any. In fact,
most people shaking their heads.
I need to, but I haven't. I don't know. I just start cringing, like even when I start seeing, I'm like, oh, okay. Why did I do that? Things like that. But I must, because I mean, I'll learn something. I should do it as an exercise. Like I should go to Luck by Chance at least, because I haven't even seen that since I saw the final copy.
I saw it yesterday,
that's the thing, right?
Oh my God.
See it so much through the post-production process and editing process that you're really, really, I mean, I don't know any filmmakers that they love this. I'm sick of my film by the end of it. I know every word and every beat and every cut and every bang of background music, that I was just like, I don't want to see this anymore. I can't. Because then what also happens, like, I don't know if it happens to you, but in me, for like in the grade and stuff, I start to fall asleep. It's like, it so well, the rhythm of that film so well that it just lulls you to sleep. I can't watch that stuff.
But your watching Luck by Chance actually was quite poignant because of the Rishi Kapoor character in that, and you know that you know more, and you watch that. He was just so brilliant in the film.
He was so great, and he was so great in Luck by Chance.
So good. Yeah, and also I think so. As an act of forgetting, is it something that filmmakers can you do this? Can you consciously sort of forget something that you made so that you can go on to your next? Do you have to do that, or are you? I mean, is this just the next thing?
I mean, I think it just. I mean, it's always going to be like something you did, so you'll hold it dear. But I mean, it's gone. It's out of your system. Like there's nothing now. It's there. It's therefore it's gone into the universe.
It's everybody. It's not just yours.
It's everybody. Which is what makes it very difficult. I don't know how you're feeling about like doing a second season, but makes it. I find that second season process like extremely just getting back into a thing that you've done and you've spent so much time on to get back into it. I find it very difficult. And that's something I struggled with on season 2, like a lot, just getting to get back into it.
So I think, I think we are at the end of our time, and at the end of our time, oh my God, that sounds fairly, drastic, but yeah, hopefully things will get better soon, and we will be in a different zone soon, and we will be on the other side of this stuff. So thank you very much, and see you on the other side.
Thank you.